So, I love tropes in books, and so I thought it would be kind of fun to tell you a little bit about the tropes that I love. I've mentioned a few of them in videos before, but I thought it would be a good idea to have them all in one place. And it goes without saying, if you know of any books that contain any of these tropes, please let me know because I need to read them, like now. So the first one, and possibly my absolute favourite, is the competition trope. Any kind of competition in a book is fantastic. So think Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. That has 2 competitions in it. 2 for the price of 1. Yes, amazing. There's also a book in the Lords of the Underworld series that follows a character as she takes part in the Harpy Games, and it's brutal, it's fun, it's brilliant. The Hunger Games, brutal, fun, brilliant. Apparently I like brutality in my books. What can I say? I like what I like. Along a similar theme, I also like labyrinths. So if we have a competition involving a labyrinth, Goblet of Fire, then I'm a very, very happy reader. I don't know what it is about labyrinths. I think it's probably because that film, The Labyrinth, with David Bowie in it, I watched that so many times when I was growing up and I absolutely loved that film. So I think just a labyrinth trope, whether it be in a film or in a book, is just a winner for me. On a slightly different kind of type of trope, and I'm not even sure if this is a trope, but sentient inanimate objects. Give me a sentient inanimate object and I want to read that book. I can't give you examples because of the examples I can think of, it would be a spoiler to tell you that it has a sentient inanimate object in it, but they're often really funny, sassy characters, and I just think that they're incredible. And it might be possible that Brandon Sanderson in the future is going to write a book where the main character is a sentient inanimate object, and I can't think of anything better. The only way that could be better is if he also included a competition and a labyrinth, and then I'd be on cloud 9. I also really love a school setting. So again, think Harry Potter, but also the Black Magician series by Trudy Canavan, Skyward by Brandon Sanderson, Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. I do tend to prefer it when it's a fantasy book because school setting in a contemporary just reminds me of actually being in school, and nobody needs that. But a school setting where you're learning to do magic or kill people, again, what's wrong with me? I just love that stuff. A bit of a different one, and again, I don't know if this is necessarily a trope, but I love to see healthy relationships in books. We often find that romantic entanglements in books are following the drama that is brought about either by them getting together or breaking up, or there's somebody else trying to interfere in their relationship, or something's going wrong in their relationship, and that's the drama in the book. But there aren't nearly enough books that just have healthy relationships at their centres, and there's some other drama going on in the book that they have to deal with together. That just, for me, is perfect. Whether that's a romantic relationship or a friendship, I don't mind which, as long as it's healthy. I want to read about it. Speaking of friendship, another, I'm not sure if this is a trope thing, but I really love stories about friendship where the central relationship in the story that is being created is a friendship. I love romance too, and I love reading about romantic relationships, but we don't see a lot of friendships being built in books, and I really enjoy reading about friendships, and so I particularly enjoy it when that platonic relationship is the centre of the story. Since we're on the friendship love train, we might as well stick with this theme. I really enjoy the unlikely relationship. 2 people or more who end up either friends or lovers, which you just wouldn't expect, and they don't necessarily fit together from the outside, but once you're on the inside and they actually are together, it really, really works. So I suppose the main one that I can think of is the main trio from Harry Potter. Harry and Ron, yes, they kind of go together really well and it's not so unlikely, but Hermione doesn't really fit with those boys at all. She's a goody two-shoes, she is massively into academics, and the boys just are not. They break the rules all the time, they're not particularly interested in doing their homework, and that's just not her style at all. And they acknowledge that in book 1, and yet their friendship is one of the most tumultuous friendships in literature, I think. They go through so much together and they've always got each other's backs, and I'm talking about the friendship trope again, but I just really, really love a good friendship, and I particularly enjoy it when the participants in the relationship don't necessarily go together. I can't really talk about unlikely romantic relationships that I like because usually the story is about them getting together and that's, you know, spoilers, but know that I enjoy that too. A bit of a different one now, and I like this equally in any genre that I read, but it's the character undercover trope. So a character who is pretending in some way or another to be someone that they're not to get to a place that they need to be. So the best example I can give of this isn't actually from a book, it's from a film, and that film is Mulan. And the reason I mention this is because this is possibly my favourite depiction of this trope. Everybody knows the story of Mulan, right? She pretended to be a man so that she could go to war in place of her father because women aren't allowed in the army in ancient China, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Come at me. It's great, and I love to see that in books. Another one now that isn't necessarily a trope, but I feel like we're seeing it more these days, and that's mental health representation, but in fantasy specifically. So Brandon Sanderson recently spoke about this in an interview he did with a YouTuber called Daniel Green. If I can find that video, I will link it down below for you. But he was talking about how as society, there are people with a spectrum of mental health conditions. Some people don't have any mental health conditions at all, some people have some people have lots of really serious mental health conditions. But the point is that there's a wide variety of people and a wide spectrum of mental health, and that isn't really depicted in fantasy very often, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because although these are fantastical worlds, they're not our world, the characters in them more often than not are humanoid, and so it would make sense for them to have mental health problems as well. We are seeing more now mental health represented in fantasy, and that's something that I really enjoy because it adds that relatable element that you wouldn't otherwise get necessarily because it's a fantasy world. I can't relate to someone who's able to do magic. I wish I could. I wish that I could go to Hogwarts and wave a magic wand and have all my cleaning done, but I can't. So I need something else to relate to, and that strong female plain character that you can put your shoes into at a moment's notice isn't really working anymore because one, it's tired, it's overdone, we've seen it a million times, and I don't necessarily mind reading books like that, but it's nothing new, it's nothing groundbreaking, and aside from that, it's not relatable to everyone because most of the time those characters are white females. What about everybody else in the world who isn't a white female and needs a character to relate to? But you add depression or anxiety or PTSD or personality disorder or bipolar disorder or ADD or ADHD or autism, whatever it might be, you add that and you suddenly have a whole new audience of people who can relate to these characters. So I really like that, and I really enjoy seeing that, especially in fantasy where I think it's a little bit more rare. And then the final trope that I want to talk about is the revelation that changes everything trope. Now usually this is discovering magical powers of some kind. So we have Harry Potter, we have the Grisha trilogy, we have the Mistborn trilogy. There are so many books that I could reel off where the character discovers something monumental and life-changing right at the beginning of the story. But there are also lots of books where there's a massive revelation halfway, 3/4 of the way through the book that just changes everything that's happening. And I can't give you examples of those because, hello, massive spoilers. But I just find it so, especially when it's towards the end of a book, it just captures my attention, and I really, really enjoy it. So I appreciate that this one's a little bit difficult to recommend books on the basis of, but you can just say, I recommend you this book, and I'm not telling you why, because there are a few in here that it probably would ruin the book to know which trope it is that's coming up. So I trust you, don't spoil me, but please leave me some recommendations down below. These are all the tropes that I love that I wanted to talk about, and that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thanks! Bye!